Hey everyone, welcome to the Worn and Wound podcast. We are here today in Oceanside, California, and we're here for a special event with the James Brand. Represent. But we have a couple of special guests on the podcast today, so I'm just going to kind of go around the room and everybody can do a quick little intro. Ryan, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I'm Ryan Coulter. I'm the founder of the James Brand. We're here in the new James Brand office in Oceanside today. Hanging.
Yeah, having a good time.
Totally. Having a great time.
Awesome.
Mike?
Hi, I'm Mike Hofer, Ryan's partner, CEO, James Brand, here in the new Oceanside office.
Yeah.
Showroom, lounge. Stoked to have the Worn and Wound crew here.
Absolutely. Glad to
Helping
be
us
here.
break in this place.
Yeah, it's been great.
Getting it
Super
dirty.
fun.
Hopefully tonight we can spill some beer on the floor. And
Yeah, what's
maybe,
going to happen?
you know. All right.
Wreck some things.
And James.
I'm James Helms. I'm one of the founders of Worn and Wound, and fanboying pretty hard right now because I got the two founders of James Brand next to me.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. Well, we're glad to be here. Anytime I get the chance to come to California, I'm like, I volunteer as tribute.
Sign me
Please. Yeah. It's beautiful. And we've had a lot of great people come by today during the pop-up show, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But quick wrist check before we dive too much, because we always do a quick wrist check. So today I'm wearing my Tudor Black Bay chronograph in pink that I just picked up last week. So this is a brand new to me watch, and really like it. I was really lucky to get the call from the AD.
that was like when? This week?
Last week.
It was last week.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a beaut.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Ryan, what are you wearing today?
I'm wearing the TJB times Timex
Yeah.
field watch, the titanium with Black NATO. Here.
That's the first one, right?
First one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
first
the
one
OG.
that we did.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yep, I still like this one. It's
think-
the watch that I feel like I can like bang up and get dirty. Where like the latest one, the one that Mike's wearing, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, it's too nice for me. I'm too much of a dirtbag."
And on to Mike.
I have the new one, the GMT Timex
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
titanium case. I love it.
Oh, you got it on a green NATO, which looks really cool.
Big Eye Design NATO band.
Yeah.
I like NATO bands.
I do too.
And never had a titanium band on a watch for myself personally.
Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
I'm used to stainless steel. And
Yeah.
it definitely is a little bit different,
Yeah.
Little
but
light.
a little light.
yeah.
We're going
But-
to swap that out for an adapt strap by the end of the day.
Right on. Yeah. Good. And I think that you guys took care of one of our team members. with
Yeah.
a NATO band, right?
We did.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
Yeah.
that.
Oh, good.
Little
Yeah.
extra service.
Yeah, an adapt mill strap. I think we sent them a few.
Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully we get to see that soon.
Perfect.
Yeah. James, what do you got on?
I have a Rolex Milgauss on that I don't wear very often, but I figured since I'm in Oceanside, and Oceanside's a pretty happening place.
Yeah.
Z Blue, I don't know what year. It's the last one before it
Yeah.
got discontinued.
Yeah.
So that it's
No longer.
I don't wear
It's
it
no
very
longer.
often, but I do like it, and it's kind of funny because we were talking about how nobody really cared for this watch for a long time. And how they're like rare, and I'm saying that in quotation marks. And then like 3 of them showed up through the door today.
Yeah.
3
Oh, really?
people were wearing
That's
like
funny.
this exact model. So
Wow.
I guess they're a little bit
You-
more prevalent than I ever thought.
Well, you picked the right watch for the location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well
Tuned
done.
in.
Well done.
Yeah.
Tuned in.
Well, can I ask them questions? Is
Yeah,
that
of
okay with
course.
you? Because
No, you're not allowed to. Sorry.
well,
Just kidding.
I so this kind of goes back a long way. I think Ryan and I did a podcast back in 2019.
It's been a long time. I was trying to remember what year that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we hadn't really started much into EDC type stuff yet. And we were this was pretty early.
Is this Gear Patrol
No.
days?
No.
No?
No, it was just
Back-
him and I talking.
Oh.
And we
Yeah.
hadn't talked about anything but watches, I think, up until that point
Yeah, that's right.
on the podcast. I mean, we probably talked about a few different things, but so Ryan and I talked, and we had gotten so much good feedback that we needed to do more of that. Ever since then, you and I have been trying to talk again, and we haven't. So
Here we are.
It's 2024, 5 years later, and we're back. The
Good
company,
things take time, James.
yeah, they really do. But James Brand, and I'll say this, I'll only say it in this room, so that way it doesn't go out too much. But like from a product perspective, because I'm an old kind of product manager, these two guys are some of the most interesting guys that I've ever met because they've worked in industries that I've always wanted to be a part of. Mike being even closer to one industry that I almost at the same company started working for. And from a design perspective and like the things that I buy as a person, these are the guys that like design it and make it.
Yeah.
So like the amount of money that I would have spent outside of watches would have mostly gone to them. Luckily now we carry the product. But it's been very interesting over the years to see the different things that you two make. And back, you guys used to be in Carlsbad and Portland. And we'd never met. And then all of a sudden this year, or I guess it was late last year, we finally all came together. You guys started this new office, and now it's like we see each other all the time. So it's really cool for me.
We're 2 miles apart.
Yeah.
And for a bunch of
Wow.
years, we had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
strange, but like, so now like that I'm able to talk to these guys more often. It's really fun from a business perspective. Ryan and I were just sitting outside talking about all sorts of business stuff, but from a product perspective, you guys have come a long way. So you started with a knife called the Chapter, right?
Yeah, that was the first product we made.
And then what happened?
What happened next? That the Chapter is like one silhouette, like one kind of thing. The next product we did, I think, was the Elko, right? The second product,
No.
or the County.
The county.
So
Oh,
the County,
okay.
which is kind of the Pike, is a derivative of the County, but it was really based off of like the case, kind of the classic, folding your grandfather's knife. But part of our original mission was to take like the existing knife paradigms and then reinterpret them like with this modern minimal perspective. And so Chapter is like your classic like tactical folder, again using air quotes, but a knife with a clip, a knife you can use with one hand, a knife that locks. So all right, Chapter, we'll start with that. And then Pike was like, okay, well, this is kind of like the modern interpretation of like your grandfather's pocket knife. And then we did the Elko, which is like, hey, this is the little
Right.
tiny one that goes on your keychain.
Yeah.
That's also like a really nice like knife
Folsom.
to have as a backup.
Folsom.
Was that?
Third was
Third?
Folsom.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh,
Clearly
really?
don't know my own history at all. I've been drinking all day, so that explains part of it.
Yeah.
But that was kind of, we did those 4 knives, and then when was the Benton? Like that was in there.
After the Elko.
Yeah. So
So
we did 3 knives, then a pen,
Then a pen.
and then more knives.
Yeah.
But we'd always wanted to do more than just knives for a bunch of reasons, and those reasons have only gotten more and more clear as we go about this. The dangerous goods aspect
Yeah.
of the knife business is an incredible challenge. So it was important for us to do a pen, the Benton,
Yeah.
early and get people to understand that we're not just a knife company. And so
Yeah.
that was, from a business perspective, even from a resource perspective, I don't know that it made a ton of sense to like, we surely didn't have like knives dialed,
Yeah.
but it was like, if we don't start to do some other stuff soon or early days, people aren't going to understand the mission.
Well, I think that you guys have really helped that conversation because when I sort of got into more of the EDC space, knives were talked about in a more tactical fashion with EDC. And that's the way it was for a very long time. And now the conversation is going more towards design and more towards minimalism and more towards gear that's very well made. And people can buy a knife not just because it is a tool, but also because they like the look of it. And, maybe not everything you have is perhaps like ergonomic in fashion, but it's like, I want that because it looks really cool and it fits my needs, and I want to see that like on my desk and in my bag. And I look at the things like like the Palmer and just like how cool that is, like for just a box cutter, like it's just so cool. And the colors that you guys bring to the table is not traditionally what you saw in the EDC space. Everything was black and brown, and camo for a long time. And so I've really appreciated what you guys have brought to the table in terms of design and color, and again, kind of changing the conversation around what EDC is and what knives sort of mean.
It's mostly because we don't know what we're doing.
I would say you do, though.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
strange thing.
Well, it's just we had a perspective on all of that stuff, but when we started this, we didn't really know there was a knife industry. We didn't necessarily know a lot about makers. We didn't know about EDC, the community. We more just had a perspective and an idea on product categories. And we're like, well, let's see where that
interesting. Okay.
goes. And so some of that has been beneficial because we weren't trapped in any kind of existing thought patterns.
Yeah.
Some of that has been tough because we broke some rules.
Yeah.
But the good news is the community, while sometimes delivering those messages harshly, have taught us a lot. And we tried, I think, pretty hard to listen. Like the new chapter, the chapter 2, is a lot better
Yeah.
than the original chapter
Right.
was. And a lot of that is because the community told us what was wrong with the first chapter.
Yeah.
But you had to listen through like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
You don't know. But if you can get past that,
Yeah.
then you learn
You're
a
a
lot.
bunch of hipsters.
Yeah, hipster knife companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we get that a lot. We still get that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Although
That seems like a
I
compliment.
will say the hate, like the Instagram hate, is a fraction of what it used to be.
Really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I think it's because people are they're just like they didn't get a response
Yeah.
that they wanted and just moved on.
Yeah.
Or maybe our skin is just thicker, but it used to be vicious. Like you would look
Well-
in there and be like kind of looking for validation and you
Yeah.
just be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
we are hated.
Well, I think the world of EDC collectors is very similar to watch collectors in that we're a very picky bunch,
Oh,
and
jeez. Yes.
we can attack brands unfairly. I think at times, not me. I say we. I don't mean me because I don't do that, but
Come on, Kat. You do
yeah, no, yeah, I can see how you guys probably got a lot of flack early on just because you were so different and people just didn't understand, and especially that hardcore like knife community in the beginning. Yeah.
And our product wasn't that good then.
I would
design
argue.
design was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But first, I want to thank you, the people that bought the early product and are staying on the journey with us,
Yeah.
because it wasn't that good. And
I mean,
it's
I think it was pretty. I was an original buyer.
design was great,
Design was fantastic. Yeah.
and that's what carried it through. The brand, the experience, what we were trying to do. The people that got it, and the haters, we got it. It's
Yeah.
like, the mechanisms weren't awesome. The blade's upside down. We went against the grain on a lot of stuff, but I think it also made the product better
Yeah.
in ways because it got people thinking other ways about the category as well. So,
Yeah.
but the first chapter,
not
was
great.
rough.
Yeah.
The first county, if you didn't have a really tough fingernail, you couldn't dig that thing out. It was
Yeah.
grindy.
Okay. Really? Wow.
Yeah.
But you were making chapters in Portland, right?
So early days we had stuff machined overseas and it would show up like Legos, like kits of parts.
And you would assemble them.
And
there.
we would assemble them, we would coat them, we would do the laser etching, we would do the sharpening.
Yeah.
And that was the worst of all worlds. In that, we weren't necessarily good at any of those other parts, and we were basically running them around to have that stuff done.
Yeah.
And no one had accountability for like the finished product but us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where we started. And you get it, just like Mike was saying, like you get this thing and you have it in your hand and be like, it looks good. And you try to open it and it would be like impossible. And the blade
Yeah.
would be off center.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, who do I even talk to in the supply chain about how to fix this?
Yeah.
See, but that's where you guys are really good, and people should know. Like, we should talk a little bit about this. That where you came from is what made you such good product marketers and designers. Because a lot of people will just have someone else make a product from them, from a design, throw it over the wall, and just be done with it. But you guys, so correct me if I'm wrong. It's Nixon, Burton, Nike are your past, right?
Those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones,
Yeah.
right?
I
So
mean,
you
both of
yeah.
us at Burton at different times.
right.
Mike and Nixon, me and Nike.
So you were building products for many years, and you knew the types of things to make it happen. And really weird story, but I interviewed at Nixon in 2010 with somebody completely different that's not in this room. Didn't get through the rounds of trying to get there. I just think it was like a product manager or something. Turns out Mike was actually running the entire company at that point.
No,
Right?
no.
No, okay.
No, I was sales. VP
Oh, you were
of sales
sales,
or
okay.
something. Yeah.
So it was kind of funny that our paths crossed, and then another guy in this room who's at the show right now. We're doing a small show with James Brand. Actually, it's a big show, and he was actually there too. So
Yeah.
all of our paths kind of crossed at the same time. But
That's crazy.
Nixon is like a big deal out here, and you guys,
Oh, yeah.
you created a lot of that kind of new development that Nixon was making at that time into all sorts of watches and products and things like that.
The thinking of Nixon, Andy and Chad, the founders, they those two, I think alone are less, both great people, but you put them together and the superpowers really come out.
Yeah.
And, I think the way, Ryan and myself, we both come out of Burton. And what Burton did great was, the people that use the equipment actually would come up with the ideas to build a product,
Wow.
and that was brought into the thinking of Nixon. So team design, custom built was Nixon. And Chad is just a great connector to people. So bringing the right people into the building to have the ideas, and Andy's a great engineer, and product developer, manager. So those two things, when that magic happened, it happened. And, the whole mantra of team design, custom built, I mean, for us, it's brought in, it's like B. James. It's the idea of the people using the product.
Yeah.
We all come, the nucleus is Burton. It's like, it's about the heavy users are the best people to tap to get the information out and then make it more of a commercial, consumer-friendly product.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about a little bit today of what's happening behind us. And there's Mike was nice enough to say, hey, if you want to do a wind-up pop-up here, you can. And I took it and I was like, we're doing this now. So we brought everybody together, and Mike and his team was nice enough to allow us to bring a bunch of brands in. So we have all sorts of brands here today and we're doing kind of a mini pop-up in Oceanside, which has always been my dream. And then we're doing it at the James Brand, which is like even more so. Tell us, you started in kind of two offices, one in Portland, one in Carlsbad. I think you moved in Carlsbad, and now you're here. This is the new HQ. What is this building all about?
So when I first moved out here for Nixon, I bought a house in Oceanside from New York, basically dropped everything and said, go work with Nixon, this brand new company, worked with Andy. And I came to Oceanside, bought a house, lived here for much of years, and for probably, 7, 8, 9 years, really connected to the community. And Oceanside community is like, they are strong, like believers. And, if you're fake, you don't do business in this town.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated just how much the people really took that serious, and it wasn't just words. And you can drive up and down 101 and you can see the successful businesses are the local people that run a good business. If it's a shitty business, you're gone. But if you're connected, you're local, and you run a good business, people support you hard here.
That's awesome.
And to me, that felt very East Coast.
Yeah.
Because I honestly, when I came from the East Coast here, I felt there was a little bit of a shallowness.
Yeah.
And
You get that with
and it was funny because Andy, when we talked about it early days, and the entire sales department at Nixon was all East Coast hires. He's like, "Are you ever going to hire someone from the West Coast?" I'm like, "Nope." And he came up with the idea that it's basement theory. It's like, we grew up with basements. You'd spend the winters in the basement and you really connect with people, and it just creates a different person. But I found that kind of interesting. But I felt that in Oceanside.
Yeah.
So one morning when I was going for a run, I came by and I saw an available sign come up on this space. And I was like, oh, so that Monday I called the number.
Yeah.
And they didn't call me back. Called another week later. They didn't call me back. And then I finally found out like the owner of the building. So I called the owner.
Yeah.
The owner ended up calling the agent, said, "You better call this guy back." And
Mike's kind of tenacious.
yeah.
Also, real estate, don't you return phone calls?
right. Yeah, exactly.
You would think.
Yeah.
So, it's, the idea, for the space was get on the 101 and become part of the community
Yeah.
and create that space, I think, that can really connect. And the other part was, again, coming from Burton, I interviewed in the first factory store that Burton created was in Manchester, Vermont, in a tiny little store when really not too many people wanted to sell snowboard equipment. And, that was my interview was in this store.
That's cool.
And that was it was a connection to the marketplace. And so snowboards back then was completely new. And people walking here like knives, like Oceanside, like
Are you in the right place?
What am I doing?
and so it's great to interact with the people.
Yeah.
And and we work at our desk here during the day, and someone comes in the front door, and whoever's available, they get up, and it could be a logistics person, could be a marketing person, customer service, but we all get up and we all know how to work the register.
Yeah. That's
and
awesome.
we all interact, and we bring something new back every day.
Yeah. That's really cool.
That's the best part. Like when, I would come out here when, years ago now, when Nixon was in their other space in Encinitas. And, I had friends that, Mike, other people that would work at Nixon. But even when no one was around, you would just go to Nixon.
Yeah.
Like, well, what are you going to do? I don't know.
Go hang
Show out
out.
in the
Yeah.
lobby,
Yeah.
go, check out the customization thing in
Yeah.
the back.
Yeah.
But it was just it was like a place that just called you in.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good reflection on like the strength of the brand,
Yeah.
like what they stand for. And so getting something like starting to do something where, again, with it's good to hear Mike's perspective on the community here, but like having a place
Yeah.
where you can actually do that is really important.
Yeah.
Which is why
Absolutely.
doing the kind of thing that we're doing today is like,
Yeah.
this is great.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that we should be doing.
Yeah.
And then, like with the events that we've done with you guys in New York and, even in San Fran, just the ability to interact directly with customers is so important. And we've been a business that, that a lot of our business is DTC, which means a lot of our business is totally anonymous.
Yeah.
We can look at analytics and find out like what people did, but we have no idea why they did it. And, if you look at Zach's the guy that's working the floor here today, like, and the number one thing we'll ask him tomorrow, like, what were the questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
will have gotten the same 5 questions 1,000 times.
Yep.
What is this? How do you do this? And so it's just really easy. In today's realm, it's really easy to get disconnected from customers. And we all we're a small team that's really busy and we work really hard. And so it's very easy to go like head in.
Yeah.
head
You get
down,
lost in it. Yeah.
and you get lost in it. And so, I mean, it was funny, like especially the very first New York wind-up event that I did, and it was just me.
I remember that.
And I came out with like this gigantic list of like questions and answers and things to do differently next time because everyone had like all of these important questions or thoughts, and I had to answer like, well, who are you guys? And what do you do? And how do you open this? And how do you close that? And it's all stuff that we had basically, it's just easy to forget about when you're so in it.
Yeah.
And so I think, Burton from the earliest days wanted retail as a part. I mean, there was literally like a factory and an office and retail all together in one place because they wanted to be able to like, the customers decide, and it goes through the business people in the middle, through the factory, and then back out to the customer and repeat.
So that's the light bulb then. So you want your folks who are sitting here on a daily basis to be able to interact with the exact customers that are buying the product because you're going to get feedback instantly.
Well, and,
completely.
and empathy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like what are they going through?
Okay.
What are they struggling with?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's really, really important, and I think it's really easy for us all to lose. Again, it's never been easier to not have to do that.
Yeah. So social media and just the new generation of shoppers in general. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, I have to say big kudos to you guys because when I walked in yesterday for the first time, it felt so inviting and it felt like the place
great.
I was like, I just want to come here and hang out. Exactly what you mentioned. Like,
All right.
yeah, no, it's that vibe when you walk in and you can spend an hour just even looking through the front space, and then you have chairs and artwork and stuff that you can really take in and just collaborate and communicate with, your team members here. But yeah, I got that vibe immediately. Yeah.
I mean, the big thing, the big connective tissue between like the Burtons and the Nikes and the Nixons is that all of those brands are truly like lifestyle brands. and they have a lot of inspiration sort of within them. And that's kind of a different approach than like just making like well-designed product, but it's really trying to put people and storytelling and context around all of that stuff. And we've been very much a design driven brand, partially because just that's where some of our background is, and we're pretty good at that. But we really want to be like this invitational lifestyle brand that's like, come on in, check out these people that actually use this stuff. Let me show you how this knife makes sense in the hands of this amazing rock climber, Savannah Cummins. And so really being invitational, like it's, you know, the dark side of like the hoity-toity design approach to products is that it's totally inapproachable. Like, oh, don't, it's behind glass. Don't touch it. It's really expensive. And that's not actually how we want this to go. So I think this space kind of marks a real, like us sort of leaning into what the strategy should be. I'm like, no. We're a place where people come in and they see the people that make the decisions and work on the stuff. Get to handle the product and really get to try to understand the context and the lifestyles in which these products could find themselves.
Absolutely.
So it's cool to hear that you guys like have had that kind of response. We're literally like dry running that with you all right now. Like you're in it.
Well, what I want to talk about like what James Brand means to me, because it is, I mean, I'm blowing smoke. I'm not blowing smoke. It is a very important. I'm not blowing smoke. But once we get out of this room, I'm not blowing any more smoke. But when you like, okay, it's called James, so great. Okay, you got me on that. That was easy.
Right. I mean, that's.
But then my favorite color is green. Come on, guys.
Got you there too.
Stop. And then, but like when you go to Walmart, Amazon, you buy, I'm not going to name brands, but like there's just, it's in a plastic blister pack or it's in a box and you're just like, like whatever. It's not really that nice. But you guys made like a felt box and you made like a wood grain interior, or you made, color schemes that made more sense to people. And it didn't feel like I was going to skin a mule deer. And like all of those things just made sense to me when I wanted to purchase a knife. And I have a lot of knives. It's a problem. And I have a lot of flashlights, and I really hope you guys make a flashlight. You don't have to say anything, but you can look at me. And okay, good. All of those things that you've done is what made me gravitate toward your product very early on, before I even knew you. And I will tell you, one of the most annoying things that you have done is the first watch, and every subsequent watch you have come out with is exactly what I wanted. And it really irks me because you came out of the gate with, it was an automatic watch. It had a green accent. You had a titanium case on the first one, right? The first one had a titanium case. It was a field watch. So you've obviously done your homework as you go into these new categories. Are you going to go into new categories past what you have today?
Well, we're working on a car. No,
that would be.
I was like, wow. Big jump.
At least a motorcycle.
I mean, Mike will answer this too, but I mean, there are categories that we're very committed to, and we have a long runway within the existing categories to do stuff. Like, there's a lot to be done to get those categories. I mean, you should be able to look at the categories as individual business units that are like fully fleshed out and supporting themselves, and we're nowhere near that yet. There are other categories, and I think watch is a good one, where it's like, we surely hope that we never make watches. Mike's done enough
that's annoying.
watches, but only because like there are other better ways to do it, like in collaboration with folks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Again,
You're good at it.
Mike spent a long time doing that, but so there are, there are categories we want to be married to, and there's categories that we want to date around. And watches is one of those where it's like, these are some of the best projects we've ever done. But I think it's great that we do them in partnership with other folks. You could see us doing that with eyewear, with bags. There's so many things that you could qualify as EDC that we probably shouldn't make, but we should collaborate with and help, again, with the context. Then there are other categories that we probably should make and probably should be fully committed to. So
5 years ago, on the podcast, you weren't on that podcast originally. He said something to me that a lot of people have said over and over again.
I hope it was true.
It is true,
Okay.
but I want to know, like,
Shit.
does that still stand today? And I want you to tell me. I want Mike to tell me. You said that if we turn someone around and we dump them out and we shake them, everything that comes out of their pockets is what we want to get into. Are you past that?
Oh no, I mean,
Yeah.
your answer is no.
Like, are you going to go past just what's in pockets and stuff like that?
Well, I think we do a little bit already,
Yeah.
but again, it's with the idea of the pocket. You know, it's like you want this, but the certain activity you're doing, you're not going to have it in your pocket, and so you need it in your glove box. You need it in your side saddle.
Oh.
You need
Yeah.
it, you know. So,
Interesting.
so it's an extension of the pocket that
Yeah.
you know those spaces are small. Those spaces are still personal.
Yeah.
People are thoughtful about like what's going in there, so they're ready.
Yeah.
And so, but the pocket is more of an idea, and you know, it's a small space that needs to be curated, edited,
Yeah.
and very thoughtful.
Totally.
And
Well, and I think everyday carry goes beyond that because like I'm the type of person that I don't have my collection of knives sitting at home. Like I have a knife in my car, and I have a knife at my desk, and I have a knife on my bedside table, and then I have a knife in my pocket throughout
Wow,
the day.
you're
So
like Dwight Schrute.
no, but
Do you want like near the toilet? Just in case?
yeah,
blow gun?
the star, like yeah, pull out a bow and arrow. But no, I like to have these things available in those areas that I'm in every day. I'm in my car almost every day, and I'm at my desk every day, and so I want something there. And like I think EDC is just it goes beyond what's on your person all the time. It's kind of where you're at in your like day to day life too. You know, so I see your point in that it's beyond just things that are able to shake out of your pocket,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah. There's stuff that I would love to see you guys go into.
What should we make? Tell us what to do.
Well, I've already said flashlight.
Yeah, that's a good one.
but I-
We winked back.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
now you've said it
Well,
out loud. You
my
didn't
ears
have to.
perked up when you said eyewear, and I was like, as a
Eyewear makes a lot of sense.
glasses
Yeah.
wear, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
I
Yeah.
mean, for me, it's like, I think what's some of the most interesting stuff is like, because I grew up during the Orange County chopper craze where they were making these bikes for all these brands. I would love to see you guys do like a one-off thing or like a 5-off thing where you
Yeah.
made like a mountain bike or you made
cool.
a car or you
Yeah.
made a motorcycle and you made like one.
Yeah.
And it was just the coolest thing you could possibly make, and it integrated your products, and it sat out in the front and something like that, just
Yeah.
as like a showcase. Like, we did it. I told you we could do it. Kind
Yeah.
of like Sony. Like Sony just made an electric car and was like, "We're probably not going to make it, but here it is." And it was just really, really
Yeah.
good.
If we did,
Yeah.
it would be like this.
Yeah.
yeah.
Gosh, there's
Definitely
just so
like to
many avenues because I'm already thinking like, you know, photography gear, and that's a
Yeah.
whole
Totally.
nother carry system with like straps and, you know, lens caps, and just like there's just an unlimited supply of things that you guys could do.
I mean, in reality, and this is like, and Mike and I, we were here somewhere in Southern California, like walking down PCH, I think, talking about this early days, and kind of just coming to the realization, the conclusion that in reality, the biggest chunk of the work is the definition of the category and the elevation of this. Like,
Yeah.
we're actually in the category building business, which is daunting. Like,
Yeah.
that's tough work.
Yeah.
But that's really where the opportunity is, because in reality, everyone is an everyday carry customer if contextualized properly.
Yeah.
Everyone has, you know, sometimes women have purses,
Yeah.
students have backpacks, somebody
Yeah.
has a water bottle. But there are these things that are part of everyone's sort of everyday preparedness that they make the curatorial decisions about what they buy,
Yeah.
where they keep it, how it comes with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that as a concept and as a system of products is a really interesting idea. Like, there's, on one hand, you've got EDC, like capital EDC, the EDC nerds, all the way down to like, you know, fidget spinners and other things that are really like exercises in machining, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's an end of that that's like, how amazing could you make the machining of this thing, which actually now has very little utility. So you have that on one end, all the way down to the things that we call men's furnishings in Nordstrom, which has, you know, like tie tacks and cufflinks and
Yeah.
money clips and your
Yeah.
wallets and sunglasses. And
Yeah.
so somewhere between those things is a bigger, better opportunity that includes, the categories we make,
Yeah.
but other things that, that we don't make.
Can I ask a question? How, like, with people that are coming into the storefront now, do you find that most of them already carry some sort of knife, or are these people that are coming in here, are they mostly new to the knife space? And how do you like get around the stigma of like knives are scary? Because they are to a lot of people still, and kind of getting around to like basics of like a knife is such an essential tool. And I remember back in the day when like my brothers all got like a Swiss Army knife when they turned a certain age, and I was super jealous, by the way, because I was a girl and didn't get that. So I definitely stole their knives early on. But I think like a knife is just a tool that you can use for a multitude of things. But I think in a lot of people's minds, they are still kind of scary.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that conversation a bit?
Well, Mike, why don't you answer the question about people that come in the door?
Yeah.
So people in the door are, we're not in a heavy walk traffic zone.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of destination, but it's, there's the randoms. Most people that are coming through the door are more exploratory.
Yeah.
And they're walking away with something that is on a daily basis. It's not a knife, a carabiner.
Yeah.
But they're being introduced to the category.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they find it pretty interesting. And they're drawn in by the design, by the colors, by they're like, I didn't think about it so much. And it's not a carabiner sitting on a hook in REI that's ugly and packaged, blister packed in plastic and stuff like that. So there's, it's brought into this nice packaging with attention. And, from there, I think then the people start to go on that journey.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is introduce more people to the idea of these things.
Totally.
That help your everyday life, be it a tool, be it a carry item, be it a communication.
Yeah.
Today at this event, we probably sold half products or knife and half our writing.
Oh,
And
cool.
We sold a bunch of Blackwing stuff. We sold, it's, field notes, everything, so it was interesting. We sold a lot of carabiners today.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And it's, so I think it's, the knife is, the world of people carrying knives is small.
Yeah.
It's not like,
Seems to be, yeah.
yeah, it's not like watches. It's a scary item.
Yeah.
It's sharp. It cuts. It hurts. I dropped my daughter off to college yesterday, and you got off the elevator in her on-campus apartment, and as soon as the elevator door opens, it has no weapons allowed.
Yeah.
And what is it? It's a kitchen knife,
Yeah.
like a picture of a kitchen knife. And she's like, Dad, I got a bunch of knives in my bag. I'm like, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
So it's we're definitely salmon swimming up against the current right now.
Yeah, totally.
So,
I mean, the other thing that we're working on, and there's a weird like sort of disparity in the product line that we currently have, and I think our vision for what we want it to be. And so we're focused on making what we keep calling like less sharp stuff.
Yeah.
And like to us, like the chapter in White Cerakote is like less, it's far more approachable than somebody else's like tactical blacked out folder. But those differences relative to each other are small, because you're like, hey, that's still like a kind of a scary, like big knife.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So products for us, like the Palmer is probably the best example, because that thing is really sharp.
Yeah.
But it lives in a different part of the brain than like a folding tactical knife.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is just utilitarian.
Yeah.
I get it. It's
Yeah.
just useful.
Yeah.
And really, our positioning, part of the reason we did any of this was feeling like a couple of things that were missing. But one was just the general utilitarian positioning of these things.
Yeah.
No one was telling that story. And it's a story of like 1,000 little victories every day.
Totally.
Versus the traditional knife marketing of like, here I am in Alaska, gutting this elk. You're like, whoa, that's a little bit much.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm stabby killy, special forces.
Yeah,
song coming through
tacked
the
out.
ceiling. Like, whoa, that's none of that was really reflective of how people were actually using those things. Just like, oh
Totally.
man, it's really nice to have this around and use it to open an envelope, or
Yeah.
clean out a fingernail, or cut an apple.
Mm-hmm.
And then related to that, like the world that we were living in, like this Burton Nixon world, we were surrounded by like the world's most interesting people, you know, like professional skateboarders,
Yeah.
snowboarders, overlanding folks, like just the world of people that we were around was really interesting.
Yeah.
Almost all of those people had knives and were like carrying them and using them all the time. Kelly
Yeah.
Slater has knives everywhere.
That's
But
cool.
like, who's
Yeah.
going to tell his story?
Yeah.
You know, like, what product does he have? We're friends with, you know, people who are, you know, race car drivers. But which they've got a knife, but who's their brand and who's going to tell their story? The entire, and this is more knife specifically than EDC, but there were just two narratives: tactical and hunt fish.
Yeah.
You basically left out almost everybody else.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, man, someone should tell
Yeah.
the story of this product as like everyday hero.
Yeah. And I think like something people forget about, like most people, 99% of people use a knife every day in the kitchen. And it's like, it's not that scary.
Or a
You use
box
it every
cutter.
or box cutter. Yeah. But you guys have done a great job. And there's an image that's sticking in my head, and I can't remember which knife it was, but there was a photo of, it was an orange, maybe it was the same one that I have. And I've forgotten the name now. It's lost on me, but stirring like coffee, like on a camping trip, just because like you have it with you and you're like,
Yeah.
I love that photograph. And it's just like, again, that does this thing of like, this thing is not just used to cut things all the time. It's like, it's there and it's a tool and you can use it. And yeah, you need to cut an orange or whatever. It's something you
It's
have
there
on
for
you.
you.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
been on so many photo shoots where like, you know, the model's got a piece of string off their shirt and I pull out my knife to cut it off. And it's just like, I'm glad I have it. And it's not used as a weapon, although sometimes maybe I do have it on me and I'm glad I have it on me, but yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case, you never know. But you guys are doing a great job at just, you know, bringing that conversation to that level of more approachability and less scary. And I think something I see in the showroom is all the colors and personality.
Yeah,
And
there's a
someone
lot
can
of
come
color.
in and like find the thing that they really like, because you offer so many different styles to things. And even Nellie, who's like probably the least knife person here, was like oogling over these knives. And it was interesting to see her pick things that I would never assume that she would pick based on her
Yeah.
style. And I've seen a lot of that today, even with watches, and a lot of women picking up the black PVD Brew, and they're in love with it. And it's like, that's not the watch that I would assume most women would gravitate towards.
up.
And
Yeah.
even your Timex, your new Timex GMT, a lot of women picked that watch up today and really like that. And that to me is not, in my mind, a traditional feminine colorway, but women love it. And it's like, I love seeing that. I love people going against the norm and finding their personality in these items. And I don't know, I just
Yeah,
find that really cool.
Someone once said to me, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, but after today, I'm kind of like starting to lean more towards I agree with it. They said that, and I don't remember who it was, but they said you're the Apple of watch, or you're the Apple of knives. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I agree, but now after today, like seeing the colors, seeing the showroom, now I'm starting to get it. Do you guys feel like you're the Apple of knives?
I mean, people have said that a lot.
Yeah.
It's a compliment, I think.
Okay.
But I think, you know, the hesitation is like, we want Apple's attention to design, color, full end-to-end experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. We try hard to do that. But I think the place that Apple, you know, is Apple a lifestyle brand? And you know, I'm asking myself the question, I guess,
I don't know.
but not really. Like, they don't, you know, if you go like a product video at Apple, they'll spend $1 million on a video that's just flying through the product. A product is hero
Right.
at Apple. And in reality, if we're doing this right, like, people are hero in the brand, and the product supports the hero.
Okay.
So I'm always, you know, you take the good and throw out the bad, but the good is like, we want that attention to detail,
Yeah.
that design sensibility, that full end-to-end experience is really important to us. So and the minimalism, you know, surely influenced by Apple and other people that have been good about bringing minimalism to consumer products. So
Yeah.
I think that is true and a compliment. But I think there's a big difference between like an Apple and a Nixon, or an
Yeah.
Apple and a Burton and a Nike. And it's like, you know, I think we will miss the boat if we don't put people at the center of what we're doing and really let these inspirational people pull all the things we're doing
Okay.
along. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to, we should not stop like where Apple has stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
they're starting to kind
You know, not that they need my business advice, clearly.
cash wise, I think they're doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Well, so the last thing I want to talk about, we're kind of running
Yeah.
up on time, is this, which
Oh.
is my actual James brand, and I want you to tell me about the Barnes and how it came to be, because it is your most expensive knife, correct?
It is.
So why is it so expensive, and why is it your flagship model? So the Barnes, for everybody to know, it's a titanium bladed single. It's two pieces, but it's. You should look it up on the website. It's kind of hard for me to.
We'll
describe.
link it in the show
Well,
notes.
But
It's an
how did it
integral.
come about? Yeah.
You want me to do it?
Well,
This must be a good story.
so, well, I'll start and I'll let Ryan finish.
yeah.
But so what's good about James and probably what's bad about James is we let design just get after it without any real thinking.
Okay.
I want to make this product.
Yeah.
And
Oh, so this is like the Bugatti.
yes, exactly.
Cool. Okay.
So we designed this product, and we our knives were getting better,
Yeah.
and but I think our design was still challenging a lot of manufacturers as well, because we're not knife designers.
Yeah.
We are designers that love knives,
Yeah.
and I really appreciate what a knife represents in the world of design and what you can do and things like that. But there's certain things that people are like, oh, that's really hard to do or whatever, and they just bypass. They're like, well, let's freaking get this thing done. Let's do it. And figure it out. And we don't take a lot of that stuff into consideration when we push it to manufacturers and things. So we thought first we could get this design in the U.S. And we
Made in the US.
Made in the U.S.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were reaching out to different people, and the product that came out after was the Clovis.
Yeah.
Well, this was
Oh.
this was the lighthouse. The Barnes was the lighthouse of product we wanted to build, and a Clovis came out of it, because we're like, okay, let's get this product to market, because it's a beautiful product, but it's still not the lighthouse of the Barnes.
Yeah.
And we kept driving from there. So, lots of time, lots of money, lots of resources to bring this thing to fruition. But in terms of the product, I'll let Ryan talk through it more.
It's a very difficult design product. Like, that's hard to make.
Well, part of it is like, this is a tough thing to
Yeah.
make. And again, the good or bad side is like, oh, let's take on something really tough.
Yeah.
Pretend like we're bigger than we are and figure it out. But from the, we've got this very like modern, it says it on the door, right? Modern, minimal, everyday carry. That's
Yeah.
really like a guiding principle for us. And so imagine that we're dummies, which we are, and we don't really know much about anything. But then we learned about this idea called the integrals. And so the Barnes is an integral, which means it's basically a one-piece design. And so if you look at this, if you look at the back,
Yeah.
this is all just one piece.
Yeah.
So it's like a
So it's
dugout
not two
canoe
sides.
of titanium.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, like, there are very few people in the world that can actually make a decent integral in titanium, because everything has to be done like down inside.
So it's not
like-
two pieces. It's like a
not two
traditional
pieces.
knife.
It's
one.
a one piece.
Oh,
It
okay.
starts as one piece of billet tie and gets machined away
Mm-hmm.
into that. So it's basically just that and the blade and the fasteners. And that, to design nerds, we're just like, oh my God, we got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, now you don't have any seam back here.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you can do
Yeah.
this rounded edge. Now you can do all of this stuff. And in terms of like minimalism, like, it's literally like there are three major pieces to this: a clip, a
Yeah.
blade, and the rest of it. Where everything else is like a sandwich, like a stacked up sandwich. And we're like, wow, we got to figure that out. And so, like Mike said, we tried to do this in the U.S. With some people we were working with, and it like could not be done. And then we got paired up with a manufacturer who is really, I think, sort of known in the knife world as like one of the very best in terms of what they're able to pull off technically. And so we started working with them on the design.
But it took about a year to convince them
Really?
Wow.
to get them to work with us.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Because we're small.
Small and
No one knows who we
Yeah.
are.
I don't think people fully understand how difficult that. Because like when I look at it, just with my feeble knowledge of engineering, like that's not easy. And that particular knife, when I saw, so the story for me on and this knife goes back to last year, 2 years ago. You and I were in New York. Mike and I were in New York, and I was using an Elko, and you were like, at some point you're gonna want a Barnes. And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't want it.
He's a sales guy.
It was a more expensive one. I like that. And then what did I do? I went home and I looked at the webpage and I was like, oh no, I want a Barnes. So I asked you if we could carry it. And you said yes, of course. We brought some in and then I took one off the shelf. Fast forward to San Francisco this year. Went to San Francisco. I loaned it to a friend of mine. I won't say names, TJ. And I got to the end of the day and I didn't have my knife. And I texted him and I said, well, you got my James Brand knife? And he's like, yeah, I got your James Brand knife. And that's all he said.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Am I getting
weird.
it back?
That's an expensive knife. I have it back. So I came back to the show and he had it in his shirt pocket. Like, and he goes, oh, you mean my knife? I was like, what are you? He's like, this is like one of the cool. He's not a knife guy. He was like, this is the coolest knife I've ever seen. So
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it. He's like, I already put it on Instagram that I stole it from you. I was like, okay. So he was like totally cool. He's like, I'll give it back to you. I'm like, no, I'm going to give you one. So I gave him a black one from the shop. And now it's like, he said to me, it's one of the most favorite things I've ever owned.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
like,
That's a good.
That's a good
that's
one.
crazy.
Yeah.
So he's
This happens a
For-
lot at
for a
Wind Up
watch
because I
person.
come
Yeah.
with my
Yeah.
James Brand too, one of the few that I have, and it always gets stolen
Yeah,
because we're
all the
opening
time.
all these boxes and someone has to borrow it, and then at the end of the day, I'm like, who the hell has my knife?
Where is my knife?
Yeah, it's
but
great.
thank you too for
Yeah,
like just listening to customers and listening to like me and really embracing us as a separate company. You guys, I talked to you about business stuff. I'm going to ask you about a lot more. Mike, with Ryan and I had a great conversation today. But like just having somebody close by that, you know, I can come here and hang out and we can talk business or, you know, we can talk about new products or do things together. I really appreciate that. And that's what really makes Worn and Wound what it is. So we're happy to have you as a part of our like extended team, and we hope to do more and more together. And after this event that you very kindly allowed us to do here, we're going to do more. Just if
Awesome.
you'll let us.
Yeah.
I hope we haven't worn out our welcome.
That's great.
But
Thank you.
Hmm?
Just talking to the vendors here, they appreciate you guys a lot. So you're moving the industry forward in a great positive manner,
we'll try.
which is great. And you know, hearing a couple of people that were customers coming through saying they listen to you guys in the morning on the podcast. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's always rad. to
Captain
hear.
James in the morning, AM 1310.
Kat doesn't let me know on the podcast very much. I usually have to force her. But everybody does come up and talk to Kat. They're like, oh, I know about your watch because I heard about it on the podcast.
yeah. It is sometimes freaky. You're like, wait, how do you know about my watch? You're spying on me? I'm like, oh yeah, I talked about it on the
I actually
podcast.
You've never met that person before, but he knew you bought a new
Yeah,
watch. That
it's
was cool.
it's still strange to
And-
me.
Yeah.
This is my first podcast ever.
Oh, really?
No.
What?
I like to be the guy behind the
Oh my
scenes all the
gosh.
time.
Well,
Mike
thank
makes
you.
me do this stuff all the time. I'm like, dude,
I'm
like,
not this
you're-
person.
way.
You're my
Yeah.
business partner. You gotta
Yeah.
like, get out there and
Well,
talk
awesome.
about
Oh,
what
we're
you're
gonna
doing.
like shout that from the roof.
He's
Yeah.
got tons of stories too.
Can I tell my one watch story?
Of
Yeah.
course.
All right. So, and I totally forgot about this, but then someone asked me this, what's your most expensive watch you own? And I was like, oh, wait, I didn't. So I would have forgotten about this. But so in 2007, sitting in the SEMA Waterman's Ball, every year they would throw this, it's a action sport surfing ball to raise money for, you know, environment and everything.
Yeah.
And every brand buys a table, pretty big deal for the industry. And you donate a lot of products to auction off and through that. So I go, you know, Nixon gets a table, and so we're at the pre-party, and I run into a friend of mine that I haven't seen for a decade, he was. I was an Arnett sales rep back in New York and New Jersey. PA.
You were?
I was, and he was my competitor. He was the Oakley sales rep, and we
wow.
went head to head.
I always liked Oakland.
But we were
better.
always friends. And so I ran into him, this guy Joe, and we ended up doing way too many shots before the auction. And so I get to the auction, our table, and I'm sitting there, and I'm talking to Eric Crane, who you interviewed with, and his wife Abby, and
Secrets out.
and I'm already way buzzed, and when I get buzzed, I chat a lot.
Yeah.
And so as I'm chatting, Chad Denena says, "Hofer, raise your hand," and I raise my hand. Oh, no. And as soon as I raise my hand, they say, "Sold."
No.
I look up at the screen, and it's a Rolex Submariner 50th anniversary model for $7,000 back in 2007.
Wow.
So, and they're on my side immediately to collect payment. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I look at Chad. He's like, dude, I'll split it with you, or I'll pay for it. You just let me know. And I'm like, no, that's a good joke. You got me.
Yeah.
And so I still have that watch.
Is that the
do?
Kermit? Is that the green
Yeah.
bezel?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It's unworn, sitting in the top drawer somewhere in my house. I have 2 large Rhodesian Ridgebacks, so the house is well protected.
Yeah.
One's 140 pounds, so you can't get into the house. But
Don't try.
just telling us this now. that
but
you
it's
have
still
this watch?
sitting there, brand spanking new.
Dang.
COVID was really
Wow.
worth a lot. It's gone down a little bit,
Yeah.
but I'm just sitting there watching. But
Yeah, that's cool.
unworn, still has all the plastic on
No,
it.
you should keep it
has
forever.
everything ever.
And
It's
you
gonna.
just start wearing it and just
Yeah.
rock it.
You're gonna
It's a
go to
cool
an
watch.
antique
It'll
store
probably go to
show?
one of my.
Blow
If I
Yeah.
don't need the money, it'd probably go to one of my daughters. Or
Yeah,
something
that's
eventually.
awesome.
But,
That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
So that's my watch story.
That's amazing.
This whole time you've had a Kermit.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
Wow.
jealous.
You guys really are watch geeks like us.
Secretly, just deep down inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we will link up the James Brands website on our show notes so you can check out all the knives and cool gear that we talked about today. Thank you both, Mike and Ryan, for joining, and we will see you hopefully soon.